Have you ever felt pressured into a medical decision that didn't align with your birth plan? In today's episode, we hear from Maria, who faced this exact challenge. Despite being told a C-section was her only option due to her baby's low weight, Maria advocated for herself and achieved the natural birth she desired. But her journey didn't end there. After delivery, she received an unexpected rare medical diagnosis for her newborn. Maria's story is a powerful reminder of the importance of self-advocacy and resilience in the face of unexpected challenges during pregnancy and birth. Before we dive in, we're excited to announce our new course, Reclaim Your Birth Story. For those of you in the area, we're also offering a live workshop. Use the code WORKSHOP for a 30% discount this week only. If you'd like a sneak peek of our course, check out the link in our show notes. We're very excited and worked very hard on this. You can also listen to our previous episodes about the course that I'll also link in the show notes. Now, let's hear Maria's incredible journey of advocating for her birth choices and navigating the unexpected diagnosis. The Golden Hour Birth Podcast, a podcast about real birth stories and creating connections through our shared experiences.
Childbirth isn't just about the child. It's about the person who gave birth, their lives, their wisdom, and their empowerment.
We're Liz
and Natalie,
the Golden Hour Birth Podcast, and we're here to laugh with you,
cry with you,
and hold space for you. Welcome to the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. I am your co-host, Liz.
And I'm your co-host, Natalie. And tonight we have Maria on from Virginia. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So if you want to go ahead and share a little bit about yourself and your family.
Sure. Yeah, I am a former accountant turned birth educator and owner of the app Natural Birth by Ecco. And it took a long time and a lot of ups and downs to get to that place, as we'll go into. But I just absolutely love what I'm doing. And I love that I'm able to help people with the hardships and trials that I've been through. So it gives all of it a little bit of meaning. So I live currently in Colonial Beach, Virginia. I was a military brat growing up. So, I mean, I could say I'm from Texas. I'm also half from Virginia. I don't know. It's been about half of my life in either one of those places. So take your pick, which one. I moved from Dallas, Texas, graduated from University of Dallas. Then moved from there back to Virginia where my family is. And then I met my husband, and it's a miracle that we ever met. Cause first of all, we were a COVID couple and no one was meeting in September, 2020, but somehow it happened. It was a miracle. And then the circumstances under which we met, we were going, my brother and I were going to a small get together, and again, there were no get-togethers, but there was one in September 2020. And we show up, and I was newly single, and my brother was single. So we were just kind of going, maybe we'll meet someone. Who knows what's happening? We show up, and my now husband is there, and, we're making small talk, sipping white wine, whatever. And then my brother is a big military guy, very intimidating. He was giving Sam, my husband, the stink eye. And then 20 minutes into this get together, he's like, okay, we have to go. There's a horrible emergency. We have to go right now. And I'm like, we get in the car, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what? Like, did you get a call? Like, what's going on? He was like, that guy in there, I don't like the way he was looking at you. And so we ended up reconnecting later. And it became exclusive. And I knew, like, on our second date, okay, this guy's the one. And then I had to tell my brother, hey, that guy that you just really didn't like right off the bat? Yeah, we're dating. And also he's my future husband. So congrats on the new brother-in-law. We had, it's so funny to say this. We had a bit of a whirlwind romance, which is so not me. I'm calculated. I think everything through. But I don't know. I was 20, how old was I? 25 and about to be 26. So, I was established. I had my career. I knew what I wanted. And Sam did as well. And we just had the same goals, the same vision. So he asked me my ring size after a month. I was like, I'm not telling you. But he did propose after 7 months, and then we got married 7 months later. And just really had the same mindset, just wanted the same things, a family, have a bunch of kids, the house with the garden and the pool out back. So we got pregnant right away, like literally like 2-3 weeks after the honeymoon. We did lose that baby, which was a difficult transition into married life. It was just a lot of ups, and then, oh my gosh, and now we were having this baby, and then it was a crashing down. But it was kind of a bonding experience as well. And also a little bit of a wake up call. Like this is married life, and you do go through the really, really high highs and the low lows, and you go through that together. So ultimately, it was beautiful and meaningful, and that baby is still very much a part of our lives. We send a prayer her way whenever we get a chance. And then not too long after that, I popped positive with Josephine, and I have 4 sisters. My older sister, she had 4 perfect, seamless, natural births, no issues, whatever, just 4 perfect children, just as good and beautiful as could be. And so I was like, oh, I think, I'd really like to go for a natural birth. And I looked into it a little bit. My other sister gave birth the day I popped positive with Josephine. So she too was going into labor like, okay, I'm just going to have a natural birth because that's what our other sister does. And how hard can it be? And she had a really, really bad experience. Her baby came a week or 2 early. So her husband was out of town on a business trip.
Oh my gosh.
She delivered alone, just by herself. That she lives a couple thousand miles away from all of us, so no one could be there. She was literally alone in this hospital room trying to have this baby. She made it to 8 centimeters, and she was like, screw this natural birth thing. I'm done. And I'm like, I'm amazed she made it to 8 freaking centimeters without that. But ultimately she has the most beautiful, perfect, handsome little son. But she said that the experience was traumatizing, even though she did get meds and she had a really good OB. But like being by herself, it was just fear, and no one was there to support her. No one was there to reassure her. And it just, women should not be alone when giving birth. We have historically always been around other people encouraging us and supporting us, and she was by herself. So she had a really bad experience. And when I heard about that, I was like, oh man, I mean, this natural birth stuff, it really sounds cool. I'm really into it. But, like, also childbirth sounds really hard. And then Sam made a comment, which may have changed the entire course of my life. He was like, haha, yeah, women always say they're going to do it naturally, and then they go into labor and it's all out the window. And I was like, oh, no, he did not. I'm going to do it naturally. I'm going to make you eat those words. So I was really, really determined after that. And then also I've always been a little bit of a hippie, just wanting to do things the natural way, just organic, this and that, making my own herbs and whatever. So the idea of natural birth fit well into my kind of life philosophy. And I really took that and ran with it. I really just enjoyed learning about the topic of birth and about how incredible our bodies really are. I mean, like literally we are just designed, just built to carry new life. And it's just this incredible, miraculous process, how the baby and the mother help each other in so many ways. It just totally blew my mind. And I really dove into the topic. I read every single book, literally name one, I've read it, or at least own it and flipped through it. I watched all the YouTube videos, just all the research articles. In my third trimester, I took a birth class with my husband, which was really, really good, except I knew like 95% of the material at that point. So I was like, okay, yeah, yeah, I like this part. Yeah, no, I agree. But it was still really, really good because we were taking it together at that point. And I think there's something to that, going through that with your birth partners that you can discuss and kind of learn and go over the material together. So that was really helpful. But I had just done so much research at that point. Um, it was to the point where I was like, there's no way we're going to remember all of this information when the time comes because, you get into labor and all the books you read, it goes out the window. You're just on autopilot. You're just doing whatever your instincts tell you, whatever your body's telling you. And I knew that was going to come. And so I really wanted to remember all of these fun little tricks. So I made index cards for every possible topic of labor, from back labor to an emergency C-section to how to speed labor up. Literally everything had an index card with just bullet points of just all the different things that you can do for that particular topic. So we were beyond prepared for childbirth. I was at 35 weeks and I was like, I've got this. I'm going to do this natural birth thing. And Sam, I'm going to prove you wrong. And then I go in for the 35-week appointment. And I had an excellent midwife. And she'd been tracking my fundal height. And it was always measuring a little bit smaller. But I'm 5'2", Sam is 5'6". So we were like, okay, we're having a small baby, whatever. But as the weeks progressed, it wasn't getting much bigger. So finally at 35 weeks, she was like, you're here, but you need to be here. Just go get this checked out. And it was a birth center, right? So they didn't have an ultrasound in the center. So I made the appointment to get the ultrasound on a Monday. So all weekend long, I'm asking, well, why is my baby small? What if something is wrong? I mean, I ate all the protein, I did the supplements, I did, just all the little things. But why is my fundal height not growing as it should? And of course I went down the rabbit hole into intrauterine growth restriction, and I saw like all the things that I could have done to potentially hurt my baby. And I'm blaming myself, thinking like, oh no, I shouldn't have eaten that Mexican food in the first trimester. It ruined her. Just blaming myself for everything. And at this point, there were no answers, right? I was still just jumping to conclusions. And so I told myself, she just needs to be 4 pounds. At 35 weeks, she makes the cutoff of being, okay, a really small baby, but still healthy, normal, not growth restricted. So we go to the ultrasound. I'm really nervous. I'm just hoping to see that 4-pound mark. And she was under 3 pounds. And there was no indication as to why. So it was clear that there was like severe intrauterine growth restriction, but usually with those IUGR babies, something's off. There's a reason why, the placenta isn't functioning, the blood flow is cut off, the heartbeats, something, there's a clue. But she was perfect. She was perfectly proportioned, just everything looked good. She just hadn't grown. She was doing so well that they didn't believe me that I was 35 weeks along. They were like, no, this is a healthy baby at 27, 28 weeks. There's no way that a baby this small could have made it to 35 weeks. But I mean, there we were. I mean, I was pretty confident in my dates. So over the next few days, I saw, or the midwife was very gracious with me, and she obviously transferred me out of the birth center. I was considered too high risk. And she transferred me to a specialist who referred me to another specialist who referred me to another specialist. I think it was 4 specialists, but honestly, it was kind of a blur, and I don't really remember how many. And they all agreed on 2 things. One, this baby needs to come out ASAP, and 2, it has to be a C-section. And so on top of all the fears and the worries of something is wrong with my child, I'm also faced with, well, great, now I've got to go through this horrific surgery. I've got to, I'm going to be recovering for weeks and weeks and weeks. I'm going to possibly, just get exposed to all the risk factors for that, possible fertility problems later on. So, I was just devastated, absolutely, absolutely devastated. But my midwife was really, really good. Even after I was transferred out of the practice, she was like, your baby is doing really well. You should try to push it to that 37-week mark, just to make it to that full term mark, because every day in your belly is 2 days you don't have to spend in the NICU. And so I talked to whatever specialist I was seeing at the time. I don't remember. I was bouncing back and forth between them. And I said, look, my baby's doing okay. Can we just wait until the 37-week mark? And there was no reason not to. She was just kicking around in there, just swimming and growing, or not growing really. And then I somehow, some way persuaded them to just try for an induction instead of going straight to a C-section. And they said, it's funny because they said, oh, well, you can just do a C-section, get it over with in an hour. I was like, well, it's an hour for you. I've got to go through 6 weeks of recovery, potentially longer. I mean, could we just try? Can we just try? So they agreed to try for the induction after warning me that it's going to take several days because, inductions with babies this small. Let me turn off. There we go. Okay. Inductions with babies this small, they don't go well. They're 0% chance of success, but I don't know. I just wanted to try. I just wanted to give it a chance. So they agreed. So the induction was scheduled on the day of week 37, which was January 1st, 2022. So not much New Year's celebration going on. But over the next few days leading up to the induction, I was like, okay, I know from my research that I need to build up as much oxytocin in my system as I possibly can. Because if I can get my natural oxytocin, then I can potentially start my own contractions, and I won't need that much Pitocin. And obviously the benefits of that are just so incredible. Your body with your own natural oxytocin, it gives you endorphins and serotonin and dopamine to help you naturally relieve pain. Whereas with Pitocin contractions, it's just pain without all the other happy hormones helping you along. So I knew that I just needed to do all those things for my body. So I went back to those index cards and pulled out all the hippy dippy little tricks, the essential oils, the acupressure, the curb walking, dates, primrose oil, you name it. And something worked. I don't know what, how, or why, but something worked because I went in on January 1st and they checked me in the morning and I was 2 centimeters dilated and 70% effaced. And they said, you're 37 weeks. Okay. All right. This is not typical at all. But so that was so encouraging. That was the first encouraging thing I'd heard in 2 weeks at that point. So after feeling like a leaf just blowing in the wind back and forth, I was like, okay, I did something to help myself and help my baby and just help this process go better. And that was the first moment where I felt empowered as a mother again. Just after days and days of just having that stripped away, in so many ways. So that was really, really encouraging. So I wasn't quite dilated enough, or no, sorry, my cervix was not ripened. So they needed to ripen my cervix before they started me on Pitocin so that it could actually dilate. So they gave me Cytotec, and the Cytotec was one dose every 4 hours for 12 hours. So we were just hanging out, waiting for the side attack to kick in for 12 hours, starting from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Just a little pill, and then you just hang out in between them. So throughout all that time, I'm just trying to get the oxytocin flowing. The goal was to just try to work myself into early labor. And again, something worked. I don't know how or why, but I used all the little tools, and by the end of the day, they checked me again, and I was between 4 and 5 centimeters, which Cytotec doesn't dilate
Yeah.
you. It just cervix. So I had gotten myself into, the early first stage of labor with just with nothing, with placebos, right? Things that aren't supposed to work, but they did.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, all right, that we're onto something here. There are things within our control. There are ways that we can work with our bodies. That was just such a beautiful moment to see that. And then after that, they were like, all right, well, your side attack is up. We don't do any more than 4 doses. Time to start you on Pitocin. And I was like, oh, that word that I've been dreading throughout this entire process. And I asked them, okay, can we just start at 1 unit of Pitocin and just kind of go from there, see how I react? And they're like, okay. They were actually pretty reasonable about it. They were very gracious. So they started me on that, and it kicked in very, very fast. I'd been having contractions. Honestly, they just felt like stronger Braxton Hicks, but nothing crazy. But the minute the Pitocin hit, I was like, all right, well, these are contractions. All right. But I was playing the I'm not really in labor game. Just trying to stay out of that headspace for as long as possible. So about 20 minutes after, they gave me the second unit of Pitocin, and that was all I needed. It was around 10 p.m. at this point, and my original plan was go back to sleep, and in the morning I'll just have this baby. You just get my energy over the night. That did not happen at all. So once that second unit of Pitocin hit, I was like, all right, I really need to focus through these. There's a lot going on internally, and nothing crazy intense. Still, I could definitely breathe through each one. Sam was doing acupressure, which for some people it really helps. For some people, they're like, other tools are better. But for me, I don't know. I loved it. He used the PC8 point right here, said to lower pain and speed up labor, and something worked for me. He was so good, and the next day he was complaining about how much his hand hurt, and I was like, I just gave birth.
Oh, your hands hurt.
I know. Me and my cousins and my sisters, we still give him crap for that. He's a good sport about it. But no, he really was, just, I could not have done it without him. The contractions were 1 minute apart for several hours, and every single contraction, he was holding really, really firm pressure on my hand. And he's just sitting there, he can't get a drink. He can't go to the bathroom, nothing. Fortunately, we had an excellent, wonderful doula. She arrived around 3 a.m. And she kind of took over for a bit, let Sam go to the bathroom, get a snack. And she was just absolutely amazing. And the entire time, contractions are growing more and more intense. I'm having really bad back labor, so it's all tightening up, and I'm like, oh man, my back's really hurting. It's funny because it doesn't feel like a contraction. It's just like a really, really bad backache. But she knew all the tools to use for that too. Just absolutely amazing. And this entire time I'm thinking, okay, I cannot ask where I'm at dilation wise, because if I ask and they're like, oh, you're at 5.5, mentally I can't go there. I just have to power through and just take each contraction as they come. A few hours pass. It's around 4-ish, 4:30 a.m. And I'm like, okay, I'm pretty exhausted. If this is me at 6 centimeters, then there is no way on earth I'm making it to 10. So at that point, I tell Madeline, my doula, can we just check and see where I'm at? Cause I don't know if I can go on much longer. And so the OB comes back, and I'm thinking this entire time, I'm still wondering if I'm going to end up with a C-section. And also I know that Pitocin contractions don't work very efficiently. So what feels like a 10 on the pain scale, could be you just at 6 centimeters. Because those Pitocin contractions lie. They are not honest, real contractions at all. But she checked me and she was like, oh, 9.5. And I was like, oh, really?
Oh my God.
I was absolutely shocked. So what I had gone through was transition, and I didn't know it because I didn't know how much of it was my body and how much of it was just the Pitocin being Pitocin. So that was that obviously super encouraging. And she was good in that she asked, do I have your consent to break your water and get you to 10? And that was not part of my birth plan at all. I wanted my water to break naturally, but if you ask me something at 9.5 centimeters, I will consent to whatever you want.
At 4 a.m.
Yeah. So she broke my water, and then within a second, I had like this. I felt it in my gut. I didn't know that's where you feel the urge to push, but I felt it in my gut, and I was like, "What is that? Oh wait, that's an urge to push. Okay, I'm pushing." Josephine was very small. She was born at 3 pounds, so it was all over pretty fast. The pushing stage, about 15 minutes. At one point, I hear the OB say, "Oh, she's crowning," and then I'm pushing and pushing and pushing, and then it's all over. And it's funny because I didn't connect. Oh, it's over. I don't feel pain or the urge to push. I did not connect that with the baby's here. And Madeline had to tell me, "Maria, look." And I looked down, and there she was, just this squishy, tiny, wet little raisin baby. Just absolutely precious. And it's so funny because like the minute I saw her, I knew this is my baby. If you put her in a room with 1,000 other babies, I was like, no, I would have known this one is mine. It was just love at first sight. The prettiest, biggest eyes. I don't know where she got those because they're not mine, not Sam's. She's got really pretty eyes. And so they took her away pretty fast. She had to get down to the NICU. There were just so many concerns. And then when they were taking her to the other side of the room to, put an IV in and an oxygen mask and all that. And that's when I noticed there were like 20 people in the room. They had an emergency delivery team, the regular delivery team, the NICU team. I don't know who else. Honestly, I don't know. But there were a ton of people there. And I was like, when did y'all show up? I mean, just been laboring here, hanging out. But I learned later that she came so fast that the NICU team almost didn't make it in time. Yeah, it was just funny. So they brought her back for just a little minute, and we just had a few moments with her before they took her down to the NICU. And that was it for the birth story. The rest of the time I was just kind of like, I just gave birth, so I didn't have a C-section. Just kind of mentally processing that. And I remember I texted my sister that morning, the one who had the 4 natural births, and I was like, Krista, I did it. I did it. And she was like, you did it. And no one can take that away from you. I was like, yeah. And it was just such a beautiful thing to know that like I had joined billions of other women throughout time and space. And I there I was, like, embarking on my motherhood journey, and I had, it's a rite of passage in a way, giving birth and producing new life. And I'm not saying that, C-section or medicated moms are deprived of this, not in any way at all. That's not my mentality. But it was just so beautiful to know that, like, I had done that. I had created new life. So over the next couple of days / weeks, she was in the NICU. We got her diagnosis, which was encouraging, but at the same time, it was life-changing. So her diagnosis is Wolff Hirschhorn syndrome. She is missing a part of her 4th chromosome. And it's so rare. It's 1 in 55,000 conceptions, and then 1 in 96,000 live births.
Wow.
So super, super rare. We've met maybe 2 specialists who have actually seen another Wolff Hirschhorn case. And we see a lot of specialists, and there have only been 2. So because it's so rare, there isn't a lot that's known about it. There's a potential that, she might not live very long. There's a potential that she might never speak, that she might never walk, but that, so there's all these scary what ifs. But overall, she's just doing beautifully. And at the end of the day, she's still the little girl that we were excited about, that we were like, oh, I can't wait to meet the baby. She's still our baby, and there's none of that has changed. It took us a long time to get there, but as far as we're concerned, we're just happy parents of a beautiful baby girl. And sure, there are some other factors to that equation, but at the end of the day, that's the situation, and we could not be happier or more blessed to have her as our daughter. She's taught us so much, just about what it means to accept other people who are different, and just the value that they present to your life. One key moment that kind of changed things for me. So we were in the NICU for 2 months, and that hospital, it hires people with certain disabilities. I won't even venture to guess at the diagnoses. There was one young man who would always sit in the window, and I would walk by, and again, I'm not sure what exactly was his diagnosis, but something was different. But he was very, very friendly, and he would always wave at me, and I'd wave at him through the window, just kind of pass on my way, and I guess he would go back to work or whatever. And it became a little routine, and we would pass each other, or I would pass every morning, and he would wave at me, and it was just very sweet. And several weeks into this, I passed one morning, give him a wave and a smile, and I'm going into the elevator on the other side of the hospital, and I hear footsteps running up behind me, and I hear a voice behind me, and someone's like, I wanted to meet you so badly, and I turn around, and it's him. And I was like, oh, hi, what's your name? I don't even remember what it was. No, it was Jeremy. He was like, my name is Jeremy. And I was like, oh, my name's Maria. And I shook his hand, and he said, it's so nice to meet you, Maria. And then he ran away.
Oh,
Wow. That was the sweetest moment. And it occurred to me that a quote unquote normal person would not have been able to bring that much joy in that moment. I was going through a lot, but they had NICU therapists, and they had people coming in to check on your mental health and all that, and prescribe you whatever. But out of all of that, this young man who I met for 2 seconds was the one who sticks in my mind, and who just made that experience an uplifting one. And it was really beautiful to see that, you with your differently abled mind or body are able to bring something so unique to the lives of others. And it really helped me to appreciate whatever it is that Josephine's going to bring to the world. And I'm just excited to see it. So throughout this entire time, I'm also processing my birth. why it went so well. It shouldn't have gone well. I had every single possible risk factor. Not really, actually. I mean, fortunately, I was very blessed in that I had a healthy pregnancy. But I was guaranteed to have all of these complications and a C-section, and yet here I was, I had the birth they told me that I couldn't have, and I brought home a baby they told me shouldn't be alive. So something had worked. And that's when I really dove further into this topic of birth and pregnancy and postpartum, and I realized that I had accidentally, or not really accidentally, it was very purposeful, but I had used all of these just natural holistic tools to give my daughter what she needed and give my body what it needed to do well. And Josephine's just doing really, really well. Like, yes, she's different. But I mean, for example, we had a nurse who she's one of the two specialists, I guess she's not a specialist, but she's one of the two people that we've met who have had a Wolff Hirschhorn case. And she met Josephine and she said, she is doing so well compared to, I guess, the other case that she'd seen before. And that was so encouraging to know that, I mean, she's behind on all of these charts, but given what she's able to do, she's doing really, really well. And then I just was so happy with the way that my birth turned out. So, and hence the birth educator training, I just kind of dove back into that topic, and really used that to process what had happened to me. And then also use it to help others as well. So I kind of did things backwards. I probably should have gotten birth educator training before developing a mobile app, but the index cards that I used during labor, I was like, oh, well, other parents can use this as well. Because obviously, who doesn't want quick, efficient tips right there to have during labor?
Yeah, so smart.
So I turned that into an app. Natural Birth by Ecco, free to download. I don't get any money from saying this. But no, it's just essentially those index cards turned into an app with, some helpful videos.
Wow. How do you make an app? That's so cool.
It sounds more impressive than it really is. I basically found a program to do it for me. And yeah, honestly, it was really time consuming. But we had a long NICU stay, so it worked out.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And I think that things happen for a reason. And I truly believe that parents need a tool like this. There are just so many situations where I see parents faced with really difficult decisions and they don't know where to go or what to do. And, they do have a holistic bent to them, but in that moment, they don't know what to do. So, hey, if a quick tip from a mobile app made by a stranger can help you, then I've done a good deed today. So the app came first, and then I was like, oh, if I'm going to be making a mobile app telling people how to give birth, I should probably get trained in this. So then came birth educator training, and just everything that comes with that. The blog, the birth course is coming out in May, and it's just been so healing seeing how everything that I've gone through is now benefiting other people who are now either able to avoid my situation or navigate it in the way that feels comfortable for them.
So
I love that.
Yeah. Very beautiful birth. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Was there anything that showed up on like the anatomy scan or any concerns with her weight then?
Nothing.
Interesting.
That's why it was just such a freak happenstance. it wasn't even, she had an earlier anatomy scan at around 20-ish weeks. And she was measuring smaller, but it was just a week or two behind. So nothing crazy, right?
Is that something that would have shown up on the genetic testing?
So I'm not sure. Supposedly, yes, except that I recently got in touch with another Wolff Hirschhorn mom, and she said that her genetic testing came back clear, and then her son had a Wolff Hirschhorn diagnosis. So I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like those are limited to like when there's an extra chromosome.
I don't know.
Oh, the NIPT test?
Yeah, the NIPT. I feel like it's very, and then it's like only certain chromosome numbers, like 18, 21, and 12.
And it's just a screening too.
Yeah. So I am curious. What are some, so birth weight is just like a factor. So they didn't really figure anything out on Josephine's diagnosis until after birth.
Mm-hmm.
So low birth weight is like, or is it like just low weight in general that is a symptom? Or not a symptom?
Wolff Hirschhorn kids, they don't grow very big or very fast. She's actually on track now, funny enough. But a lot of them are induced or delivered via C-section very early on because it looks like intrauterine growth restriction because they just don't grow at the normal rate.
Okay. So what did everything kind of look like when she was able to come home to the NICU from the NICU?
It's hard to say because I don't have anything to compare it to because she was my first. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm like, oh, I just brought the baby home. We'll find out after I have this one. But I guess the one thing that was different was that she had a lot of follow-up appointments. She sees 9 different specialists and she sees 2 therapists a few times a month just for physical development and speech and all that. So just setting that up within the first month or so was really, really time consuming. And then, I mean, God bless my husband. I could not do this without him. Because after the NICU, they messed up our insurance. So we get a call that we've got a $500,000 NICU bill and, we're not going to pay for it. So the first week or so, he's just on the phone sorting this whole mess out. And he did, thankfully. We wouldn't survive without that. But no, he had to spend a lot of time just navigating, just on hold, waiting for inefficient people to pick up the phone. So yeah, that was. Gotta
rough. Love the American insurance system. Such a scam.
I would have thrown up. I would have fled. Oh my God!
But you guys knew that it was just a mistake.
Yeah,
I'd imagine. Yeah.
Oh my God. I didn't. I mean, you probably understand the postpartum fog. That someone tried me to. I was leaving my job, so I was getting disability for my my postpartum pay, and you just filling out the paperwork. I was like just having trouble, like filling out a simple form. You just don't think critically. I mean, everything is emotional and raw, and it's just hard to think along those lines. So, I mean, God bless single mothers who are doing this alone. I truly have just the utmost respect. I don't know how they do it because I would not have survived without Sam.
Yeah. Yeah, like how many forms they give you right after you like get to your postpartum room and you're like, wait, what am I supposed to do with all of these?
No.
It's like, I'm going to record you on my phone so I can listen back to this. So kind of like, how are you? I mean, obviously like, you probably have to be feeling good to like have another birth and like you have this app, you have your birth education. Like, how are you feeling going into birth number 2?
Feeling good overall. I will say So I was all confidence, just, oh, I'm pregnant again. Cool. This time I've got it. I know what happened and I know why it happened and I know how to avoid things. And I'll admit that as I grow closer to that 35-week mark where we discovered the issue with Josephine, I'm like, all right, okay, are we going to get past this? I don't know. So I'm 29 weeks tomorrow. So I feel good, and my belly's huge, right? I'm not concerned about growth restriction at all. Maybe too much growth, honestly. Yeah. But overall, I feel good. But I think that little voice of like, okay, but what if? I think that's going to stay there until this baby is born. And I think that's normal. I in many ways, I need to kind of prove it to myself that I'm capable of having a healthy baby and just a normal, complication-free pregnancy and birth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all the questions I have.
Yep. Do you have anything else you want to add or any advice for any newly pregnant or new moms or anything?
I think that the biggest thing that helped me was just researching, just knowing when to say no, knowing your body, and then trusting your intuition. You know best. I mean, you have billions of years of primal intuition telling you what to do. Rely on that. It knows more than any doctor, any PhD, and anything. You have the information, and I truly believe that. Just we all as parents just have that instinctively within us, and so leaning on intuition, and then also just self-education as well. Leaning on the evidence, and knowing when to say no or yes, or whatever the case may be.
Love it.
Yep. Awesome. Cool. Well, where can people find you?
Instagram at Ecco Natural Birth, or you can download the app Natural Birth by Ecco. Birth course is coming out in May, as is the pain management protocol that'll be out this month, unless it's delayed. We're trying to move right now, so it might be a little later than I want it to be, but
yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful birth that you were able to have. Super proud of you for just advocating for yourself and listening to your body. Like, that's so freaking awesome, especially with such a, diagnosis that probably just wasn't expected, and doctors telling you this is what you have to do. So just amazing for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on and listening to Josephine's story. It means a lot.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next episode.
Thanks. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed our discussion and found it insightful and beneficial. Remember, the Golden Hour Birth Podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you. If you appreciate the content we bring you each week, consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform or sharing the show with your friends and family. Your support helps us reach more people and continue creating valuable episodes. If you have any questions, suggestions, or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach us on our website, www.goldenhourbirthpodcast, or connect with us on social media. We value your feedback and want to make sure that we're delivering the content you want to hear. Before we sign off, we'd like to express our gratitude to our incredible guests who joined us today. We are honored that they trust us enough to be so open and vulnerable. We're grateful for their time and willingness to share their stories with us. If you're interested in taking the conversation further with us, join us on our Facebook group, The Golden Hour Birth Circle. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode, so be sure to tune in. Until then, stay golden and remember to take care of yourself. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. Bye!